There is a short list of characters out there that I could probably count in my hand how many times I've played them at least deliberately, and I can assure you that Peach is on that list. I have never cared for Peach pretty much whatsoever. Don't hate her or anything, but if she was removed from Smash tomorrow, I personally wouldn't care. I will give her this though. Her side B is nice, even if it is very spammable. Sorry if this one's a bit short, but I really got nothing else to say about her. Ah yes, the most iconic gaming villain of all time, Bowser. Honestly, considering that fact, it's surprising that he only got added in Melee and wasn't in 64, although we do know he was planned for 64 at one point. Bowser, like Yoshi, is one of those older fighters that have gotten better over time, specifically Smash 4 onward. I mean, he's not top tier or anything, and come on, he's never gonna be, but he's definitely more fun than newer games compared to the older ones, at least to me. Although I've never really played him all that much, but if I were to guess, I probably played him the most in Smash 4, which isn't really surprising since that's when his big revamp came in that made him a lot more fun to play. So yeah, I like him, albeit mainly in Smash 4 and Ultimate. The Ice Climber is similar to Falcon and Jigglypuff, are another character that's more well known for their inclusion in Smash rather than their original series. Although in the case of Ice Climbers it's more understandable as they don't really have their own series to call home anyways, just their debut game back on the NES. That's it. Despite that though, over the years, thanks to said inclusion in Smash, they slowly began to acquire their own fanbase. Ice Climbers are also known as being the most notable cut character in Smash 4 due to the limitations of the 3DS, despite them reportedly running well on a Wii U, which I guess isn't that surprising because of course they ran well in Brawl and Melee, but still. But since Sakurai wanted fighter parity between both versions, not wanting one version to have an advantage over the other, even though there wasn't any crossplay function between them, they had to be scrapped. Thankfully though, they returned in Smash Ultimate to thunderous applause, something they most likely would not have received if they were not cut in Smash 4. Regardless though, it's nice to have them back, but what do I think about them? Well, in Melee and Brawl I didn't really care for them that much, but once they came back in Ultimate I played them quite a bit in the early days, although I don't really play them much at this point. Overall though, I'd still say I like them, but I won't be losing my mind, however, if they somehow get cut again. Sheik, the alter ego of Zelda, is probably my least played Zelda character in Smash outside of Melee. She's just not one I really care to play personally, and for that reason I don't really have much to say about her, so yeah. Now as for Zelda herself, I actually played her a decent bit in Melee, but in Brawl and Smash 4, like Peach, I pretty much never played as her. But unlike Peach, I do have a more concrete reason. And what is that, you may ask? Well, I do not like Twilight Princess Zelda's design basically at all, which I know is not exactly a hot take by any means, but still. I don't hate her guts or anything, but I much prefer literally any other version of Zelda to her. And thankfully we got that in Ultimate with the Link Between Worlds Zelda, which I'm pretty happy with, even if it is a bit weird that they didn't just go for Breath of the Wild Zelda, even though I get why they didn't do it, to fit in alongside Link better. Plus there's the bonus that I just like playing as Zelda in Ultimate more than the previous titles, although I still don't play her all that much, but at least I don't mind playing as her now as opposed to the last two games where I literally never played as her at all, at least in Brawl and Smash 4. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing one of the most, why does this exist, fighters in Smash history, Dr. Mario. Or at least that's what most would probably be saying if he were announced today. But because everyone has grown up with him in Melee, he's just kind of seen as just a part of the Smash family, even if he does still stand out a bit for being such a strange addition to the series. Still though, I remember when the ESRB leak happened all those years ago, and some people didn't believe it was real solely because Dr. Mario was in it. Because there's no way in hell they'd bring someone like him back, right? Regardless of his kind of random resurgence in Smash 4 onwards, there is one thing we can all agree about Dr. Mario. His theme song is one of the best remixes in Smash history. Like, seriously, you know how good the Melee version of Fever is? We have had technically four, but basically three in practice. We've had 3 Smash games since then, and they haven't tried to remix it again, like they've done with many other songs. You wanna know why? Because they nailed it so well the first time that there has been no need to do it again. That's why, because you can't top perfection. As for Dr. Mario himself, I definitely prefer playing as normal Mario since Dr. Mario is a bit too slow for my liking, although his new Spike in Ultimate is pretty cool. I played the crap out of Pichu in Melee, and he's always been a favorite of mine, so you can bet your ass I was thrilled to see him finally return in Ultimate. And even better, because unlike in Melee, Pichu is actually good this time around. Although not quite as good as he was in the early game before he got that big fat nerf in 3.1 that pretty much killed his viability in the competitive scene, since now there is no point in playing Pichu when you could just play Pikachu instead and get better results, which honestly I'm completely fine with, as we probably would have reached a point where everyone started to hate on Pichu just because he was top tier a la Bayonetta, and that would have sucked. So yeah, while he's not top tier like he was early on, I still like him a lot, and I'm super happy that he came back, even if it'll be probably for the final time. Falco is probably my favorite of the Star Fox crew, and the one I've played the most in the recent games. Falco, similar to Fox, is also known for his top tier status in Melee, although not quite as high as Fox. But unlike Fox, who has remained pretty much the same since Melee, at least generally speaking, Falco was changed in Brawl onwards to be slower and more hard-hitting compared to Fox. Personally, I prefer that, as it makes him more unique and less of a clone compared to how he was in Melee, where he was basically just a second Fox. Overall, though, I don't really play any of the Star Fox crew much these days, but whenever I do, Falco is more than likely going to be the one I end up choosing. Well, here it is, our first Fire Emblem character in Smash. And while some of the later ones have been the subject of much controversy and debate, and of course I'll give my thoughts on them when we get there, Marth is most certainly not one of them. Marth, along with Roy and Ike, make up what I'd consider the traditional core FE Smash roster, since these are the three that we all grew up with in Melee and Brawl. Between the three, though, I'd probably say I've played Marth the least over the years. Why? Well, mainly because he's the most standard and no frills of the group, whereas Roy had fire and Ike has his big abusable sword. But that was then, and this is now. And what do I think of Marth now? Well, I like him, but ever since Smash 4 he hasn't really got that much playtime from me, because a certain someone ended up joining in and effectively obsoleted him from that point onwards, which we will of course get into when we get to it. But even then, there's still no doubt that Marth is iconic and a definite staple in the Smash lineup. Like with Pichu, I used to play Young Link a lot in Melee, and was also happy to see him return in Ultimate as well. And also like Pichu, he's much better in Ultimate than he was in Melee, which is sweet. Of the three Links, he is without a doubt my favorite to play. However, there are a few things about him that I do wish that they did with him when he came back in Ultimate. Namely, as many others have said, I really wish they would have based his design on Majora's Mask rather than Ocarina of Time. Like, I get it, he debuted in Ocarina of Time and the Kokiri Shield is iconic and all, but Majora's Mask was Young Link's game, where he didn't have to share screen time with his adult counterpart. Like, give him the Mirror Shield, the Razor Sword, make his Final Smash Fierce Deity, do something like that. Maybe the next game, perhaps, assuming he even comes back, that is. Although, like Pichu, I think he's sadly going to be on the chopping block next time around, but who knows. Ah, Ganondorf, the most iconic Zelda villain. I think it's safe to say that he's one of the most infamous fighters in Smash. Not because of who he is, but because of how he plays, as he's considered one of the worst fighters in both Brawl and Smash 4. And while Ultimate did take some steps to improve him, such as increased speed and finally giving him the damn sword, overall many still feel like they have not gone far enough. Do I agree with this sentiment? Kind of. I say kind of because I would like to see them do more with him, of course, but I also don't really mind the way he is now. But I'm certainly not going to say no to a revamp in the future, even if he is, in my opinion, not as needing of it as a certain someone else, but of course we'll get to that certain someone else next time around. Mewtwo, historically at least, has always been a popular one, which is why his reveal as Smash 4's first DLC fighter broke the internet as hard as it did. Despite that though, you don't really see him talked about all that much these days, but I guess in some respects it's only natural, as he's been back on the roster for so long now that we've all just kinda taken him for granted. And this isn't even limited to Mewtwo either. Many popular fighters over the years have fallen into this trap as well. Even Sakurai himself acknowledged this in the Sephiroth presentation. Despite that though, I still like Mewtwo, even if the magic of his return all those years ago has worn off. Everybody likes Roy. No, seriously, I don't think I've seen a single person out there who doesn't like Roy. I mean, of course there's gonna be someone out there that doesn't like him, but overall I'd say he's probably the most beloved Fire Emblem character in Smash. After all, there's a reason why they brought him back with much fanfare in Smash 4, and with a cool new design to boot. It's just a shame that his return was spoiled because someone at Bandai Namco screwed up and left references to both Roy and Ryu inside the 1.0.6 update, the update that added Mewtwo, 2 months before the reveal. Despite that though, Roy coming back was still great and he is a lot of fun to play these days. And at this point, I think he's also pretty much here to stay, because why would they bring him back just to cut him again? Although to be fair, the whole everyone is here nature of Smash Ultimate makes that whole thing tricky, but I feel like Roy, as well as Mewtwo, and as we'll get to later, Lucas, are all characters that I feel like are basically guaranteed to stay simply because, hey, if they were big enough to warrant coming back as DLC in Smash 4, then I don't see why they would cut them again. I think it's safe to say that Game & Watch is Smash's first truly random fighter. Like, sure, we had Ice Climber as a character from a somewhat obscure early NES game, but Game & Watch is on a whole new level, further accentuated by his deliberately choppy and jerky movement that makes him more faithful to his original appearances, and makes him stand out big time compared to all the other fighters. He also happens to be, technically at least, a Smash Bros. Original creation, as in Mr. Game & Watch as a character was created for Melee as an amalgamation of the various Game & Watch characters from of course the Game & Watch line of handhelds, but didn't actually exist himself before then. So yeah, Game & Watch is pretty cool, and I think is definitely one of those characters that people take for granted, but people would definitely miss if he was cut, even though at this point, he's clearly not going anywhere.